had it concealed and I run straight at him.
In your mind, did you want to kill him or just hurt him?
I would have killed him stone dead.
Do you remember the first house you burgled?
I rang the doorbell 20 times, and when I got in there, a man came out with a towel around him and caught me bang to rights and strangled me with his phone wire.
How were you treated in that young offenders?
Horrible. I used to cry every day.
As brutal as...
Scum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is exactly what I was going to say.
Ray Winston, definitely like that. Run down to the end of the corridor. Run, run, run. So I'm running with the kit. He says, can't you read? He says, don't run. Smack again.
What's the most extreme thing you've done in jail?
I don't regret the stabbing in the children's home. I don't regret my prison behaviour. They robbed everyone on the outside. They raped, killed, domestic women, children, everything. Then they'll run around and say, you're scum for robbing them in jail. Someone gives me something to smoke. I took 2 pulls late at night. I dived head first off the top bunk bed. The floor was covered in blood. I was paralysed straight away. I'm just going along with the journey. But the truth is, there's been some dark, dark times.
Were you linked to any murders in there? I want to say a quick thank you to our sponsors, Gold Seal. I use their products every single day, and now I finally get to work with them. I use their products for anti-inflammatory, reduced anxiety, better sleep, and mental clarity. I'm going to put a link to their website in the description, along with a 10% discount code for you to take advantage of. Go and have a look at their website, see if there's anything in there for you. I hope you enjoy this week's episode, and good health. Yammy.
Morning, Liam.
Morning. Thank you for coming on. This has been a long time coming. And I'm familiar with your story. Yeah. Familiar to the point where I'm curious.
Yeah.
And it'd be interesting what the audience think, because is your story a story of crime, trauma, addiction, circumstance, or is it everything rolled into one? And I'm hoping that today, at some point, there's a bit of a revelation. If that makes sense.
There's been revelations lately, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Yeah. We're gonna have a real good chat, and I want you to just totally relax. You're in good company. I'm no stranger to a bit of trauma myself, so when you're reliving yours, I'll be there with you. But we do have to visit that part of the journey first. So you spent a long, like almost 4 decades in jail.
Yeah, all institutions.
On and off. You know, you're on a mission. You're institutionalised, and you've had to. You've had to navigate through life the last 5 years since you've been out for the longest stint. But let's go back, because people are going to want to know, how did you end up doing 40 years in jail? Yeah. Because it wasn't just one long stint. You've been in and out. And there's normally a reason for that. Yeah. So let's go back and find out the reason. So where were you born and raised?
At the beginning of time, Liam, I was born in Bow Road, East London, on New Year's Day. Left there about 2 years old and moved to West London, which was Ladbroke Grove, Harrow Road, Mozart, Notting Hill. So I went to early schooling there. Not the happiest of households. There was underlying things as to, I didn't know at the time, but I knew that I was in adoption at one stage. I don't think I've told anyone this, but it came into my mind the other day that during the stay when I was born in Bow Road, East London, it might have been I left East London about 3 or 4, but there was internal problems with my mother and father over a thing that I didn't realise at the time. So it works out in later life. Before my father died, it was only then that he said that one of my sisters was my half-sisters. So the incident that I'm referring to would have been during that time where my second sister was born, because my sister Leslie was born a year before me. I'm the year after. And then my other sister, the one in question who I love dearly, is the third one. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4. So anytime between probably 3, 4 and 5, right? My dad ended up in prison. Never been to prison before. Hard-working man, came from the Navy. Mum was born in Newport Gwent. When my dad was a sailor, he met my mum. My dad, very lone man, very strong man as well. But apparently he hit her. he was in Brixton prison and then the charges got dropped. But then flashbacks to recent times, me and my sister Leslie were in adoption with a woman called Auntie Dot, who used to slap us about a little bit. But when my dad got released from prison, Mum and Dad came for us, moved from East London to West London. And then that was the early bit. I never understood, or still can't understand, how I felt being with an adopted. I can't remember how many months it was, but it would have been until my father came out of prison, right? So this bit's I've only put it together and little reminders in recent times. So I can't remember feeling too much of that, Liam. So when we went to West London, St. Irvan's Road, near Ladbroke Grove, went to Bevington Primary School. The houses back then were really, I wouldn't say slums, different to how they are now. I don't know how to describe it. But we was living down in the basement. Up above us was family, like Rosamond, Spencer and Jewel, remained close all our lives until a couple members passed, sadly, hurt me. And above them was an old World War II veteran who was my godfather, Mr. Hall. And he was the landlord. But whenever my mum and dad used to fight, we used to start screaming, and Mr. Hall would come running down, all his medals on, come running. He loved my mum, but he was older, and would break it up, and then he would take us, me and my two sisters, upstairs. So there was a lot of kind of fighting. My dad was a disciplinarian, but of course, I don't know at this stage, because I always protected my mum, and always will be, rest in peace as well, that my dad was the baddie. But we didn't know about the reasons why they used to argue about, because he was holding on to the secret that my mum actually went with somebody else. But it wouldn't have changed anything, because you still can't put your hand on women. But you know what I mean, Liam? That was the bit. So I basically hated my dad for hitting my mum. But then on his dying deathbed, he tells my sister, Jane, you was somebody else's, but I'm still your dad, but that's your mum. So that was, then I think, did my dad have great integrity now in late life, that he held on to it, that he always loved my mum, and he was doing it as a manly thing, not to let no one know. Still that he loved her right to the bitter end and protected her. So have my views changed towards him now in later life? I have to say they have a little bit, Lee.
It goes to show that must have been heavy on his shoulders for his entire life to get that off his chest.
Strange one, that, Liam. Because I never really liked him. So, Liam, when the bits, so we moved from Ladbroke Grove to Lisson Grove Estate, which is Church Street, Edgware Road, West End, kind of northwest 8. So it's a new block, council house, very different from Ladbroke Grove. Like Legoland, all the blocks, when you walk into a new flat, are really happy. They've got their bedroom, I've got mine. Mum and Dad's is upstairs. Dad, a plumber. Mum worked in British Home Stores. So just normal family life. Christmases, Dad sorted out that. We used to go on regular holidays to Butlins in Barry Island once a year. So before all this taken place my dad was still working. He was a quiet. My dad ruled by the roost. Very serious man. Could have a right row as well. One of those men don't come outside the front door. Asian, like kind of descendant, was descendant. Come out in his bare feet and fight with the whole balcony. If you come and make noise outside the door, seriously strong man. No playing about it. Never talked to no one. Hello, that's it. My mum was more like me, or I'm more like my mum. Talk to the whole estate and everybody and tell everybody their problems and all that. She's really soft, my mum. She didn't have the skills, really, to be identifying certain... But I was a mummy's boy.
Same.
The rest was jealous about that, I suppose. They started to have their battles at night. I used to sneak up to the bedroom. I never used to like him hitting her, so I used to push open the door. Many will know this already. And then one day she rebelled for the first time and went missing for a couple of days. She started going out drinking, Bayswater, Edgware Road, and then turning up. My dad wasn't disabled at this time. because he got the stroke shortly after. They just say, leave her outside. But I always used to creep up and open the window for her, let her into my bedroom. So why are you letting her in? Leave her. So doing it. So it all went tits up. We went to Butlins, Barry Island, with Godfather Mr. Hall, the one from Lebbek Grove, the landlord, who's a great, great man, right? David Arthur Hall from Hull, right, Liam? And he took us on holiday without my mum and dad. They said they're coming a day or two after to join us to patch up their differences, so to speak, right? But they came 2 days later, and they was in the chalet next door to us, and you could hear the arguing and fighting going on in our room to them next door. So they got in a car. My dad drove, said, listen, we're all leaving. We'll leave you all to it. And on the way back, he suffered a stroke driving. My mum got home and took an overdose. And when we got back, there was no one to look after us.
And how old were you at this stage?
9 or 10.
9 or 10. Is this what led you ending up in care?
Yeah. He had the stroke. She took the overdose, my mum. No one to look after us. So Mr. Hall was in the flat with us in Lisson Green. Social services come round because one of them had signed the paperwork saying, no, you've got to put me in care. Because they're both in hospital. I remember getting to the hospital and really upset about my mum, but I remember looking at my dad in a coma. I'm thinking, I don't care.
Oh, really?
It's a bad feeling to have, really. And I was really upset about my mum, but I remember just hiding behind the door, Liam. Thinking, I don't like all this. And then late at night, social worker comes round from Westminster, says you got to go into care. The next door neighbours, we were saying, we don't go in. Mr. Hall saying, what you doing? All the neighbours were out pulling this way and that way. A lot of screaming. I can always remember my sister Jane screaming. Didn't want to go. And we got in the car in our pyjamas and ended up in the children's home in Westbourne Park, Portishead House, and standing at the door in the rain with the social worker. Bed's already, they let us know, was already there, and that's the start of the care journey.
And did all three of you get put into the same care home?
Yeah, Liam.
Okay. And did you stay together in the care home?
I didn't. They took to it more. I would say they took to it better than me, because I didn't want my mum. I wanted to see my mum, and we weren't allowed to go back to that address. And the mum got out of hospital. Dad was disabled down one side, so he needed to stick now.
Did they come and visit you in there?
Not allowed. They weren't allowed.
And you weren't allowed to go and visit them?
Nah. So I used to have to go to school from that children's home and listen to my mates at Quinton Kenniston, my friends like Raymond and Kendrick and Terry Andrews and some of the boys and Bimbo. They used to say, because they had older brothers or they were a bit older than me, to say, Sam, look, your mum's drinking down Bayswater and she goes to that bar. My brother was with her last night. So I used to sneak out the window of the children's home to go and look for her and stand outside the bars. But I know people used to tell her, your son's outside, because when I was about 10, I looked about 5. And I used to just be worried about her, Liam. And I used to stand outside, and then I still have to walk back, because Westbourne Park and Bayswater and Queensway, where all those bars were, was quite near. And I can remember getting stuck because I used to have to leave the door open downstairs because it locks automatically. So I used to put the mat down the fire exit door, creep out the bedroom at night while everybody was sleeping and leave it so it don't lock. So when I came back, it would be slightly ajar and then I can go back up. That's how I did it, Lee. So one night I got stuck. I was cold. It seems like a longer walk when you're little, doesn't it? When you got now, you just breeze around the corner. It doesn't look the same. But when you're cold and you're upset and you're hurt. But when I walked back, a couple of times in life, a couple of ladies in cars would stop and say, where are you going? Because I must have looked young to be out that time of night.
You were?
Well, I probably was, yeah. And then Liam, they used to always come, I just get lucky and they would drive you back. What's happened? And I was telling them, I'm down there, miss, and you shouldn't be out. But I said, I'll get grounded if they find out I sneaked out. But I said, I'm looking for my mum.
How many kids were in this care home?
Around about 8 or 9. So Liam, one day I went back, the door was locked from the fire exit. So I can't get back in. So I got to press the bell, wouldn't I? 1 o'clock in the morning. And that horrible man, the manager of the children's home, he's got his premises on the premises, like his flat is adjoining to the children's home. Lets me in, you're grounded and blah, blah, blah. And shortly after that, she's a good lady, really, Angela. They said that I needed someone to talk to about learning the birds and the bees, because you haven't got no father figure to explain what happens when you reach puberty and stuff like that. And she said, look, Samson, you have to learn. You're going to need to have a father figure. And they basically said that I should talk to the manager.
What was his name?
Joe Whiting. I think she'd done it out of trying to help me. But of course, that's, that's where the abuse started.
Do you think maybe he coerced her into coercing you?
Nah. I thought she wouldn't. I think because I was close to her, that he might have approached her and said, look, he's going to have to learn. So I would have been about 11. But the only thing is, Liam, is that when I was 11, I looked about 4. Late developer. I didn't start puberty until 18. But I think that could have been the trauma and the emotional shock of being a late developer grower. But, I'm not a doctor.
And how old was this guy that went on to abuse you?
He would have been in his 40s or 50s at that time.
How did it start?
Coming in the bath while I'm washing, toweling me, touching, saying your foreskin's too tight, you're going to have to get circumcised.
Hands on.
So hands on, but going on like he's
a doctor.
So later on, down. And then trying to get me at night to, when everybody's asleep, it's like the boogeyman coming. I've said it before, and then you kind of go red while you're pretending to sleep, and he comes into your bedroom and it's him, and he leads you down, there's a back stairs to his flat. Oh, it's okay.
So he would actually come in like the boogeyman, take you from your bed and then take him back to his flat.
Yeah.
What a dog.
And then I resisted a couple of times, and he brought me back up. But then basically it learned. I told the deputy. I told someone at school. I had a school teacher called Miss Hardman. She's a good woman. She was married to a general. They used to turn up at the children's home and bring me Easter eggs, because the class, she knew that obviously what had happened. I didn't want to have visits off her. She was really hard and strict in school, but she used to come there with her husband and pay me a visit and bring me eggs. But I used to hide behind the door because all I wanted to see was my mum. But I used to sit down with her. But really, in later life, I realised she was a good person.
Did people believe you when you...
No, I reported it to... That's what I was going to say, Liam. I reported it to the deputy, because I can't remember which one it was. I think it was someone else was in my school in the same children's home. They said, no, you've got to report it. It's been how many? A year and a half, and there's more things. But I went to the deputy, lovely lady called Glennis. She always used to make the bacon and eggs in the morning. I really liked her. So I told her, and she reported it. She said, I won't be having this.
No.
And she liked him, but she did report it to social services, Westminster. And then there was a big meeting at Westminster with everyone sitting. I was sitting in the chair. Someone else was sitting. My social worker was sitting there, and all the Westminster social services. There was this geezer there. So you could see him. When I told him, Liam, I could see them tapping the pens and all right.
Was if they were just going through the motions?
Like they were just going through them. And when I went back to the children's home, then all the rest of the other member of staff stopped talking to me. So I didn't want to go into school because I was crying and every day thinking that I was the guilty one. I shouldn't have done it. I shouldn't have said anything. But look, Liam, he came out of his flat for 1 week straight with dark glasses on. So he'd actually got suspended for 2 weeks. I forgot about that bit, right? So he was looking all hurt and everything. So after about a week of all this, of being on edge, going to school, can't concentrate, then not going to school, the reality was that one morning I was sitting there, I had my Leeds United bag on my shoulder at the breakfast table, and another member of staff, he's called David Fag, right? 6'5", tall, grown man. You've got to go to school. I said, I ain't going, mate. He lifted me out the chair, took me to the front door, threw me on the floor, locked the door, and I was on the balcony floor, and all the other kids were getting ready to go to school as well. A couple of them were laughing. Kids are like thinking it might be something different. No, anyway, not relevant. I looked, I was thinking anger. I felt really hurt. I thought, I ain't having this. I might be little and small, but really and truly, everyone's going on like it was my fault. I must not thinking I wasn't old enough to really understand all that. But I went into the bag and I took out the geometry set. Because them days when you go to school for the maths class and physics and that, you used to put the pencil in the thing in it to draw the circle.
The compass.
The compass, yeah. Not the greatest weapon. That's all I had on me. That's the only thing I could think of. So I took out the geometry set, put it in my hand, pressed the front door, the bell. He came swaggering to the door. I had it concealed. And I run straight at him and put about 50 little small holes in his neck and everywhere. And then he fell backwards into the chair. And then I got out of the front door and legged it to the bus stop to go to school on the 31 bus. But I was really excited. I was really feeling happy. Empowered because I could stick up, I don't know, whatever way you want to describe it, but I know that I was right.
In your mind, did you want to kill him or just hurt him?
If it would have been a knife, he'd have been dead, wouldn't he, Liam?
So whatever you would have found, you would have used?
I would have killed him stone dead.
So what happened after that?
They come to get me in school in the classroom.
Police?
Yeah.
So was this the first nicking?
First nicking. So then they came into the classroom. But I knew they came in because people say, you shouldn't be staying in here, Sammy. Because a lot of girls, they used to look after me in the school. A lot of the girls used to fight for my battles in school, right? Liam, but they said, Sammy, they didn't, when the police come, a few people was aware, Mrs. Hardman, the teacher, she didn't seem happy. And then I went to the police station. They took me to the police station, Harrow Road, moved me to another children's home round the corner, which was an assessment centre called Beechcroft House. So I went to Beechcroft House for a week while I was sitting in the thing in Beechcroft, while they sort out. I couldn't go back, obviously, to that children's home because they don't want me and because of what's happened, right? So they got their way, really. So I was in Beechcroft and then I went to Juvenile, Seymour Place, Juvenile, which is opposite Marylebone Magistrates on Old Marylebone Road. And my godfather was the only one who turned up at the police station. We was the only one waiting outside, Mr. Hall. And then when I went to court in the morning, he was coming into the care room, because remember when you're young, you have to be in a child one kind of thing, or a young person's one. And he was saying, please, Sam, don't say you've done anything. You haven't done anything. They was just trying to beg me not to. But the social worker's going, you've got to say what you did. And that. But they remanded me to Stamford House. It's a young boys' prison.
Borstal?
It's the step before detention centre, and it's the under 16s, 15s, 14s. Before you can actually get to detention centre, you go there as you've been in care. There's a care order on you, but you're locked in.
So it's the youngest place of incarceration.
Right, it's the youngest place of incarceration, right? Before you get to the prison stage.
And what was that like?
That was the time when they put me in the first roommate I had was Chris Eubank in the dormitory. So I think they got 2 charges, GBH, ABH. So I got to wait. But something happened in there, Liam. I think he died. Not confirmed, but I remember hearing that.
The guy that you stabbed?
But he died later, 3-4 weeks later, or something like that. He hit his head on something, but they was going to say... So they held me in Stamford House quite a long time to say that, there's something that's happened, that we might have to change the charges.
They wanted to link you to the murder.
But it's not murder, but they're trying to say, was his injuries caused by anything that I kind of... So I stayed in that Stamford House a bit longer than I should.
Right.
But the tea ladies used to come and say, Sam, you don't admit to nothing you haven't done, it was there for, and all that. So I walks into O'Hare House and into the dormitory, but I'm lost. I'm little. I'm vulnerable. I miss my mum. Stabbed one of my, I suppose, not the abuser, but the next is an abuser as well. Because I wouldn't be throwing kids outside the front door by their necks and just dropping them outside like they're a little piece of meat. I wouldn't even really be thinking about doing that on most of my crimes on the outside. I was a baddie in prison, Liam, as you know, but it's only so far that a man can go. And So I'm in there, I walk in, there's 6, 7 beds. And Chris Eubanks over there. There's no one else in the dorm. So I'm the same age or just a bit below him, I can't remember. I go to opposite the dormitory to go in that bed. So he says, listen, Babyface. He said, what? I don't know what he was in there for. It might have been shoplifting, it might be, because he was originally from South London, Chris Eubank. I was 4.
Before he moved to Brighton.
Before he moved to Brighton. So this would have been about that time. But I used to go gym upstairs.
Right.
With Mr. Simons, the black gym officer. Look, he's not officer, because, yeah, he is. And Eubank was top man. When they used to put the gloves on me to fight smaller people, but everybody was bigger than me. But Eubank stood out. And you could see that he was strong. He was already lean at 13, 14, right? But he was going, you're not old. He was trying to tell me, and I was explaining to him what happened. He's going, yeah, but obviously he had high sympathy, empathy levels already at that age, Chris Eubank. That's the only way that I could take it. Maybe he felt sorry for me. Just, probably not. I can only go by what I remember in his actions. Whatever it was, I made him laugh. And then after 2 days of being in the dormitory with him, the staff came and said, nah, he's too small to be over here. Chris Eubank said to them categorically, leave him with me, man. And was putting his arm around me and saying, nah, leave him, he's just the right age. I'll look after him. They said, nah, Eubank, he's got to go across there to Amby. Right? So I'm that age, meant to be in Eubank's house, that block, but I had to go in the one below because of my size and my looks and whatnot. So I went over there. So I have this man called Mr. Spiegels. He's a spy on everyone in the shower. It was like the gas chambers, the showers. He used to stand in the morning going, sausages for breakfast. You know, like a raven. With spectacles of all dandruff all over his. And then I used to be the one that everyone used to egg me on, go, Yammy, go, shout, it's like, Spiegel. And I used to be the first one. He goes, right, come here, slap. I always used to get the brunt of everything because I was a little bastard, but not that. I was the kind of, I just listen to what people say. But, so I'm getting assessed while we wait for this outcome of this case with one of the abusers. One day, I didn't like it, right? And I hope you don't mind me saying, Eubank used to come out onto, when we used to have exercise and football on concrete or whatever, or half time, because the breakfast, the dining rooms, ours is there and theirs is there. But sometimes he used to walk and look for me, say Babyface or Titch or whatever. And he thought a light-skinned geezer called Morris Lewis was bullying me or something like that. And he came out and he said to Morris Lewis, I hope you ain't bullying Titch or whatever in that kind of way. He goes, nah, I'm looking after him, man. That and all that. One time I think I can remember they tried to jump on Chris Eubank, the staff. Horrible bastards, man. But it took 5 of them. And he had his hand on the pole, holding it while they were trying to wrap him up.
How were you treated in that young offenders?
Horrible. I used to cry every day. I was the only one that never, well, not the only one, but I never used to get no visits or nothing apart from Mr. Hall, because he could bring canteen in a bag. And he used to turn up, Mr. Hall all alone, never seen mum, never seen no one, never saw no one. But my teacher... Physical violence in there? Because in one fight, but everyone used to stick up for me, Liam. I was the smallest in there. So then, spent months and months there, waiting for the case to be sorted out. But they kept threatening me, you're going to go to a proof school. You ain't going back to no other children's home. You're a days you stabbed someone and all that. So when I went to court, they got me, I got a chance or whatever. It wasn't, you know what I mean? I've got no regrets for doing that crime, Liam. I was doing serious, emotional. You do it again? I'll do it again, right? But they allocated me to another children's home in Mozart Estate off the Harrow Road, not far from Ladbroke Grove. And that's when all the stealing started, and I started idolising everyone was my age but seemed older. But then I got into, the burgling high-class premises from that age. So I was in the Mozart Estate Children's Home 3 or 4 months, and something's got great memories, even though it's probably a bad time. I still never really see my mum or nobody like that. But one day I didn't have any charges. I didn't get nicked for anything. I used to go out with, there was a couple of big ones that I really idolised. And
who were these people that you had? Were they in the care home as well?
No, they would live in the estate.
Older than you?
About the same, but they're taller. They looked, and I liked the way they walked, the talk, and the mannerisms, and getting back diamonds, and they were getting it from really young.
So you was introduced to crime rather than sourcing it yourself?
Yeah, I was introduced to it. Yeah.
And of all things, burglaries. Because normally you associate burglaries with someone that's trying to support and fund their drug habit. And I'm assuming at 13, 14 you didn't have a drug habit.
No, I started drugs late. I started drugs in prison. Late, way down the line. Never got into hard drugs until really late, Liam.
So what do you think it was? What do you think the attraction of burglary was?
Because the way they walked, and I thought they were great role models. I thought that the way he walked and talked, and the way West London men do it, and with the style, like the big chain with it, they were getting them things, and you get the shoes, the lizards and croc skin shoes, and high class premises burglaries, like rich areas, I'm afraid. And I thought it was pretty normal, but
do you remember the first house you burgled?
Yeah.
What was that like?
So my mate I really like him, and I look up to him. Says, right, Sammy, come, right? So he takes me somewhere down Regent's Park, exclusive, right? So the Boy Scout uniform with a bucket and sponges, walking past the porters because I'm making it look like that I'm going to go and do a bit of car wash for someone. But really, I'm opening the fire exit for him to come through. But because he's 6 foot, not saying colour was a hindrance for some in the early days in rich areas, but it is, I would say, fair to say that if he was tall and dark in the 80s in rich areas, when folks see you, they could phone the police before you even knock on the door. Or neighbourhood watch before it came. It was, in rich areas, it was a bit different, right? Just saying. So I open the fire exit door for him, and he comes charging down the corridor. One big kick, and all the bantam locks on the door. Whole door was flat on the floor with wood everywhere. So then they're running about in there, and he said, open the doors and just show me what you get. But he's moving really fast. So I was panicking. I was kind of shit scared. I figured, what am I looking for? And then I found a pouch. It was all kind of white gold. I thought might be silver or something, but had loads of diamonds and this and that. He's going, that's it. He snatched it out of my hand. He put it in his pocket. But he was getting other things, 𝐼𝐴's and all that kind of stuff, sad to say, but I was scared. And he goes, come, let's go. Down to the fire exit, gone. And then I was kind of elated that I felt part of, and I'd done something now to go back and tell everybody in Mozart that I've been on a job with the big man.
And how many houses did you burgle before you got caught?
I think the another one that stands out because they said, push me through the windows, the small ones.
Right.
And then open the door, but I remember getting panicky and thinking, these are the early stages, terrified really, might get caught. But I remember I'm doing it for him. And I'm doing it because I don't want to fail, because I want to be able to go back and see, look what we got. Because there was a big crowd in the estate where everybody was going with everyone to go and steal and come back and say, look what I got. You know, Liam? And I didn't last that long. I was in that children's home in Mozart about 3 or 4 months, and they were saying, you're coming back with goods every day or something. They told my social worker, and then they put me in a locked-up approved school in West Grinstead.
Right. And so what's an
Horsham.
That's it, Horsham, yeah. So what's an approved school?
An approved school is a school for delinquent kids who can't, through their care orders, are not allowed to stay at their parents for one reason or another, can't get along in schools, most of the time have committed crime already, and you go there. And I went to St Thomas More, Parsons Green, West Grinstead, and it was run by brothers.
And what was that like compared to the others?
It's terrible.
Still bad?
It was all bad, Liam.
Mistreated?
A little bit. I was there 10 months, Liam. But everybody else used to get home leave at the weekends after a certain amount of staying in there. But I was never allowed. So then I used to try and escape, but I always got run away. And then a couple of times I tried it. I got lost in the forest and I couldn't get to Horsham Station. Because remember, I was in my pyjamas at night, and then you come back and then Nah,
What about the criminality? Did that continue?
not in there, down there, because you're locked up.
Right.
You only used to go Worthing Disco on a Friday. The school's on the premises. You got assembly in the morning where you all sit there and they got the book who's been bad at night. And then they call you and he goes, Yammy, come up here. You know, you're throwing buttons around the dormitories and that kind of stuff. And he called me up and I was just standing there with my head down. He goes, you were throwing buttons around the night, man. Says, blah, blah, blah. He said, look up. Slap. I start crying and everybody starts laughing. But then put your hands on each other when you're lining up for work. This is the bit before detention. And then did run away, run back to one of my mates in Mozart Estate, where I was doing the burglary before I went there, stayed in his house for about 3 or 4 weeks, burgling every day. And then I got my first...
Big nicking.
Yeah, someone got caught by an off-duty policeman running away from a scene of the crime, and we got caught later on. And we ended up in Stamford House again, this time. And this time I went to juvenile court. And really it all started from that moment. There was a laid bench, pleaded guilty to about 16 burglaries. And the laid bench, a lady in the middle and 2 men, brought me up. I said, look, Sammy, we want you to go back to another children's home. I said, I'm not going back to no other children's home ever again. Sorry, Mum. I don't want to go there. But it's best for you. We don't want to send you to prison early in your life. They actually told me. I said, yeah, but miss, I don't want to go back to now. Then she said, all right. They sent him out. The social worker didn't want me. I don't know. But then the lady came back. She said, with great reluctance, we'll do what you want and said, give you 3 months detention centre, which is a short, sharp shock.
Yeah, before we go into that first sentence, which I'd imagine was a short, sharp shock, your motivation for burgling houses, do you think that, or do you know the reason why you took to that? Was it the thrill of the chase? Was it the money? Was it you felt part of something?
People used to bring me out with them. And obviously after years, few times and years of having needed a partner to go and commit crime with, I eventually wanted to do it on my own. Like I was wanted the test of, I don't need no one to work with. I could do it on my own, like. But it was the belonging. I had no one else in my life. It was all I knew. I was terrified. I realised that I was different from everyone because I was a bit not as, or maybe I was more traumatised. I never really liked doing anything to anyone.
Did you have any idea how bad a crime burglary was? Could you appreciate it at the time?
I thought it was normal in a way. They used to say to me at that time, yeah, but off the rich, it don't really matter. But I never got any of the money anyway. When I used to get all the big stuff, they used to say, yeah, wait outside, we're going to the jewellery shop. You wait outside, Sammy, and we'll bring it out. And then give you my little share. So I was really naive. But I used to give everything away. Girls, people's sisters. Let me have that ring, Sammy. Let me have that. And what's your, you know what I mean? And then their brother said, stop asking him for things and all that. It's kind of, I used to give everything away, Liam.
You wanted to be loved, didn't you?
Don't know. Did I?
Well, from what you've told me, so, you know, being put in care at 10,
yeah,
that's pretty heavy duty. And then you're straight into a place where you're supposed to feel safe.
Safe, yeah.
And you're not safe at all. In fact, far from it. Yeah. And you're getting bashed from all these different people in one way or another. Like, where's the love? All of a sudden, you're going out robbing bits and pieces. You're getting the adulation from people.
Yeah.
You're giving your friend's sister's stuff, so you're getting love.
Yeah.
That's a nice thing to feel.
And leave Sammy alone. And all the mums used to say, leave Sammy. When they have their own kids going out stealing, the mums would say, leave Sammy here. There was always drama surrounding me. No, but I got protected. When I was in the home, a lot of people's mums used to, I think that's why when I was in the 𝐃𝐨𝐧'𝐭, category A, high security, when they sent, because I was a lunatic later on in life in prison, when they sent, and I was carrying weapons and doing madness in there when I gave up totally. When they sent the psychiatrist, they said, he's got to be evaluated, but because of my behaviour. she said, the reason why that you didn't turn into a psychopath, because you had, at the vital growing stages, you had people, nice people, who try and help you.
Trying to save you.
Try to save you. And I think it's a big thing.
Let's go through your prison journey now, because this is kind of a real, it's the biggest chapter of your life that you've spent.
Oh, yeah.
So from Borstal, short, sharp shock.
Yeah.
So was that as brutal
DC
as...
Detention Centre. That's the one before Borstal, but I get what it's the same thing.
Okay, so detention
it's
centre.
It's just shorter
than
than Borstal, but it's the same thing. Yeah.
And as brutal as...
Scum.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same as.
That is exactly what I was going to say.
Ray Winston, definitely like that. And Borstal was like that. But I didn't get to Borstal because they scrapped it in 1982, 3. So I went straight from detention centre to Ellsbury YP. I was the youngest, one of the youngest ones in there. When I went there, 4 years, I got 4. Again, getting nicked in a costume in Rickmansworth. But the detention centre, yeah, that was the start of the institution. So, but it is like that. Sorry, Liam. It is Ray Winston and I'm the daddy. But they didn't really tolerate, in the old school, they didn't really tolerate a lot of bullying, really. There was always the biggest one, or they were a bit more grown and mature.
Was there racial tensions in Borstal?
You'd always have the big black one fighting with the big black one. If there was the pool table, but it's associated, like it's... But then there was a lot of taxing going on, though. Like they would wait at the canteen. And you only used to get about £2 in detention centre, a toffee bar and a Mars bar. You're not allowed to smoke in DC detention centre. In Borstal, you could get tobacco, I think. But, in YC, you could have YP when I was serving. They changed YP, young prisoner, to youth custody later on down the line. But they used to wait at the end of the queue and take the toffee bars off people. Yeah, they did. But when I used to, they used to say, nah, they wouldn't take nothing off me.
And what were the screws like in Borstal?
In DC, detention
DC.
centre. Oh, there were some funny ones, but some horrible bastards. I remember when I stepped off the van, coming from Seymour Place Juvenile, I was in the van with 2 others with the cages on the van. The first van I've been caged up, really, in reality. And turn up outside detention centre, Blantyre House. Get out. All 3 of you stand there in the line. Mr. Quinnell, hat over his head, beard. He goes, now listen carefully. When I call your name, you answer to me, sir. And if it's a lady, a nurse or anything, you say, ma'am. You got me? Yes, sir. What's your name? Samson. Bang. Don't forget to say, sir. Started crying. So then they said, get your kit, run down to the end of the corridor. With my kit, run. So I'm running with the kit. So when I got to the other end, screw waiting there off prison officer. He said, can't you read? He says, don't run. Smack again. That's how it went. Yeah.
Teeing you up.
But it's part of the short, sharp shock. That lot wouldn't be able to handle that now, that age group. And then you wake up, you do induction for a few days, you're in a cubicle. I can't see out the windows because it's kind of glass and it's all blurry, the window. And then you wake up and you hear left at 8 o'clock in the morning. Right, party halt. So it's all the work going different parts of the detention centre, going to dig up the potatoes, the greenhouse, where that incident happened in Scum, kind of like that. Other places of work, but you line up where you work in single file. And he shouts like, line 1 to the left, quick, march, left, and then they go, and then it's the next. You have to get short back and sides.
It's a bit like the army.
So you come out and you line up in the morning, 6 o'clock. You move to the dormitories. And there was this rockabilly night, man. Everyone used to get me throwing buttons at that night. You know what we're like as young delinquents and that, throwing at each other. And rockabilly said, get your head down before I knock it down. Rockabilly night, man, right? So in the morning, you used to come down. You have to wear striped pajamas, like the prison films. Like lines going down, but nothing fitted me, Liam. In the morning, you have to take your top off and stand out while you wait 2 at a time to go into the boot room to wash. So you walk there and then 2 more come and you're standing there. He touches your face like that. I never had no bum fluff or nothing. He goes, make sure you have a shave. Running around the field with a medicine ball. I was the smallest. I think that's where I built up the strength, I was a shorter man. But That was that. And then I came out telling everyone I wanted to be like everyone. I've done a detention centre now. I'm hard.
Yeah, did you prefer detention centre or care?
I never wanted to go back in care, Liam. I wanted to be...
Was it a bit of a relief?
No, because some of the
back in care?
boys in the estates had already been to detention centre in Borstal.
So you fancied it?
I fancied it. Because I wanted to say, that's why I said to her in the courtroom to her, that I want to go.
So when you come out of detention centre for the first time, in your mind, did you think to yourself, right, no more trouble, or did you think, I can live with that?
No, I was at it straight away. I wanted to do Borstal.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I didn't, you don't plan on getting nicked quickly, do you? But I couldn't have been the greatest thief, really, Liam.
How long did you stay out before Borstal?
I stayed out 2 months. And then I got 3.5 years, 4 years, YP.
So that's the first big one?
That's the first big one for the one in Rickmansworth, the judge's house, with a bucket and sponge. And the one where, to run consecutively, where I was on bail for the one in Rickmansworth. The only times probably I got bail in life. And I got nicked. I climbed through a window. Someone else was waiting outside. There was only one way out, which was the door. I rang the doorbell 20 times, and when I got in there, a man came out with a towel around him and caught me bang to rights and strangled me with his phone wire.
With his house?
His house. And I was crying. I wasn't strong enough to get away. So I was called and done. And he called the police. And that's how I got my first long sentence. I went to 𝐿SBRY.
So how often were you burgling houses in that stint of time?
Every day. Morning, day and night.
Did it become a bit of an addiction?
Way of life, Liam. I thought it was just the way...
That's what you do now.
That's what you do.
And when they hit you with a 3.5 year sentence, how did that feel?
When I went to Chelmsford was like YP, but it was like a miniature Wandsworth adult prison. Deadly place, Chelmsford in the air. So when I got to Chelmsford, from St Albans Crown Court I went, because that's where the judge's house case was, court case. My sister Jane was crying in the gallery because everybody was telling me that I'll get 12 months. Justice Straight, when you're one of the maturest burglars I've ever seen, because I had the bucket and sponge pretending to be a Boy Scout. So I got extras. And when boys my age were getting 3.5, 4 years for armed robbery, Terry Ellis was there at that time in 𝐿SBRY. Some other faces that went on to be serial killers were there, like Nicholas Minaj and others. Marcus Jervis was there. I met a lot of people in 𝐿SBRY that I saw years down the line in other places. But Liam, when getting to Chelmsford, as soon as I went down for breakfast, because none of the trousers or anything fit me. So everything was like loose. I'm always having to pull it up. And then the officers would say, "You all right? Do you want me to phone your mum tonight?" And then all the other cons would start laughing. Because I looked like I shouldn't be in there. So I had to deal with all that, but probably didn't do me too bad. And Faith stayed in Chelmsford 3 weeks and walked into 𝐿SBRY as the smallest and youngest in it, kind of. And then, but there were a couple of boys from the estate, older ones already there.
That you knew?
That I knew, and they were the daddies. So I had a touch. And then I spent about 2-3 years there, and I started fighting in there then. I started being able to have a row, play football.
I was going to say, because there's been no talk of violence up until this point. No talk of fighting.
Not really. But I had bouts of swinging, though, on the spur of the moment, if you get what I mean. Like,
yeah.
If you said something about my mum, I'd start swinging straight away. You know how youngsters can be in. Because you get that one as well when people, your mum didn't want you, that's why you're in care. But that weren't the reason why. Start swinging.
Kids are cruel, aren't they?
You get, it hurts, doesn't it, when they say things like that?
Oh, yeah.
No. I did used to swing on certain occasions, but yeah, I was always brave. Remember that? If I used a weapon at 11 or 12, then it's in there, isn't it, Liam?
From a lot of people that I know, people that have been in and out the prison circuit, like you've got a strong reputation.
Yeah.
And you enforced bits and pieces whilst you was in jail.
Yeah. They like the big lot.
So for such a small lad, your reputation was very big.
Sometimes bottle wins. And you remember I'm proficient at all sports, Liam.
Mm.
You remember both hands thing? Good to just don't the fighting. Yeah, I didn't really have loads of physical fights. Probably only been down once, really. In reality, I didn't fight that much. I suppose I used my physical strength and wrapped up. But I always think the fist to fist, even though I could do it, and you can look good. I had some great performances, and I don't know how. But it depends how focused. It depends what it's for. But then I always believe it takes too long. So I thought at the time, it sounds bad, but I always used to think, where's the weapon? Cut the story short and use it if you're in real danger. All right? That's the way, but not for a silly thing. Not for, but Liam, so 𝐿SBRI was the schooling, I suppose, and then moving from that, but I was still quite sweet. Came out, got starred up, Wandsworth, and met the so-called bigger lot while I was still young in there.
What does starred up mean?
Like you got to go to adult prison before you're 21. At 21, but you get moved out. But I only had a few weeks left.
Right.
And I got started up at 19 or 20 and then just went home. And then I done my burgling and I was out about 5 months from 85 to 86. So I was away from 82 to 85. Then I had my kind of second relationship and I was going out with my Jamaican, well, English, from Brixton, and she had a son for me, my only son. But it was at that time, 85, 86, when I used it. It was occupational hazard. That 5, 6 months I was out, and that's where the costumes, not the Boy Scout uniform no more, the burqa costume, Saudi Arabian, and the salesman thing with a suit and tie with a briefcase. But these were because I was doing a lot of bad things with penthouse apartments and houses. So I want to appear either like I'm like a businessman or when I'm going to steal, try to fit in with the people that I'm stealing from, I suppose.
So how did that work then? You would do the job in disguise or you would sweeten people up in disguise?
I would get through, because you've got to get through security, because they're really secure, a lot of them rich, when they're going for, I suppose, glory. You have to go through, and if you, because I got the skin colour, I think, and whatever, and I put the thing on, you don't go to the desk and say the penthouse apartments, Park Lane and Knightsbridge and Kensington. This is ones I was taught to do when I was younger, and it was a feature for quite some time, every time I came out, and go. And then the climbing also, in the winter, I would go, I had a geezer I used to climb with as well, drain pipes, and go through windows. But in these these were daytime, 85, 86. And you walk past, pretend you can't speak English, and walk to so when you walk in, you got the staircase there, and they're big buildings, and you just walk past and go like that. And because you look like you live there, sometimes though, there's been times I go, oh, excuse me, who are you going to see? But I think the real consensus was that I was conning and doing it well. And playing the part well, just to get past the first bit. And then you get into the buildings and penthouses and still, I'm afraid, that's it.
And by this stage, was you doing it by yourself?
Nah, partner's still around about that time and on and off on my own.
Right.
So I had 5, 6 months out, which again would be one of the longest periods I was ever out. Probably 5 months, and then another 3 or 4.
What was your biggest lump of bird?
12 and a half, served all of it.
You served all of the 12?
Yeah, and it's 2 8s. The last 3 sentences. I served every day of every sentence. But in the 80s, I did 3s and 4s. It was 2/3 then and not half remission. So when I did the 12, the category A's, right? Messed about the whole time. Lost time. They had new conditions. I didn't know. I thought you just do the 2/3 and what you lose in prison and come out. They changed all the rules because Sonic was on license. No, Sonic came out, was on license, and committed a horrific offence. And they had to have a big turnaround with the probation. It's under the Sonic case anyway, Liam.
What is that case?
It highlighted where a man was on licence, he committed some kind of crime, and he didn't get recalled. So he was left at large. but still engaging with probation. But he should have got recalled because he was on licence. So, but he went, allegedly done a horrific offence and burnt a man and robbed him in his house and burnt him to death and got lifed up. But they said, what was he doing out to do that? He shouldn't have been out. Right? So they had a revamp of the whole licence when you come out, that you would have to go in a MAPA hostel first.
Right.
Where you'd be on conditions, curfew, monitored, sign in, sign out, stay there until they're suitable and they can recall you for absolute nonsense, for being late, for failing a drug test, for going to a place where you shouldn't. This is without committing a crime. So I played about all through that 12 and a half.
When you say played about?
I gave up. I was a raving loon, really, but cool. But I was doing anything to get something. But there was, there's a lot of great men that probably were there for me at certain times as well, but I took the absolute piss, to be honest, Liam. Because if no one gave me nothing, I'd be horrible. You know what I mean? But I still got away with things.
So let's get into this then. So you was getting 3s and 4s up until the time you got a 12.
No. In 89, after that period from 86, my son was born. And remember, I got the Queen's pardon. The Queen let me out for saving the probation officer's life in Wandsworth, right? So I got a royal warrant. So I went in there. We don't have to get into the story. They're aware, the people that know about that story, that I went into the office. And
people watching this that don't know it, this is a big thing, isn't it? So the
Queen's pardon.
Getting the Queen's pardon is a big deal,
so
isn't it?
that was only a 3 or 4 year sentence. But cut it short, Liam, a bit short, Liam, to the point that my son was born. I was getting visits in Wandsworth. I didn't want to move because visits was regular. They put a slip under my door saying that you're going to go to the Isle of Wight. How they did it, they didn't come to the door and tell you verbally. They just put a slip under the door. You're on transfer to the Isle of Wight in 2 mornings' time. Have your kit packed at 7 in the morning. We'll come for you. And then you go down reception. So when I woke up in the morning, I thought, I'm not going there. It's too far. You've got to get on a ferry and all that. So this is 1989. And I went on the yard, exercise. When you come back, Wandsworth them days there, it was absolutely brutal. Walk round the centre, coming back off the yard, going onto my wing. I went into the toilet, because there was no toilets in the cells them days, and put my feet on the door, because I know when the screams walk past, I have to look under to see if there's anyone on the toilet. So I did that, that old chestnut. But I did, so I got away, they banged everyone up, but the purpose was, you have to see a probation officer. They only used to come in once a week, right, Liam? From the outside. There was no inside probation at that time. But when you make the application for the probation officer, it takes about a week or 2 for your name to get on the list. So, and then you're on that list and then they call you out and you line up outside there. But I ain't got the time, have I? Because by the time I put in the application to see her, I would have been shipped out. But I'm thinking, I've got to get in there because I haven't got no reason, I haven't been allocated and given permission to see the probation. So my basic thing was, I'm going to try and just burst in there and just go and ask them, miss, get me out of it. I don't want to go on the island because I won't get visits to see my son. So I pushed to the front of the queue. So I'm at the back and I thought, they're going to come out and see me soon and go, Yammy, get the fuck up there. Yeah? I'd already had a couple of fights in Wandsworth. I started fighting round about this time, Liam. No, I started fighting a couple of years before, after 𝐿SB, and during 𝐿SB, yeah. I was sort of getting into little bits, but I wasn't picking up weapons and such until after this. But Liam, I pushed to the front. They were there before me. But I was thinking, why are they all waiting for? Someone must be in there. So I thought, just tell her, is it all right? So you get a little bit of permission. So I went to the front, faced the door, opened the handle, walked in, pushed it open and went out. And when I looked in, there was a geezer on top of her with a knife. So it was all in slow motion. So when Missy looked at me, he had his hand like that. I was thinking, what's he doing? So I started to, felt like slow everything. He's waved it at me, stand back or whatever. He's a lunatic. Didn't know who he was. Bigger than me though, at that time. But I made a move. She went to the wall, that side, or whatever. She was the chair. He was behind the desk. So we ended up wrestling. But we fell over the table, but I had the right touch because I fell on top of him. And she got outside the door. So I think I walloped him once or twice while he's on the floor. And then about 200 screws came, prison officers. Once if it was madness. She couldn't talk, she's in shock. They're thinking, right, we've done something to her, or it's me and him fighting, or something. They don't know the story, do they? And they think it's me again. That little bastard. YP, 21 or whatever, 22. Looks like butter wouldn't melt in his mouth. So they pick me up, put me in the corner. They wrap him up. So it's all a sea of white shirts and blue shirts, prison stuff, whole wing locked down. One's of serious then. And then so I'm being there on the wall. Goes, Gov, listen, it ain't what it seems, mate. And then says, yeah, it never is. So they start pushing my hands and the wrists on it, heads down there. I was thinking, the block's miles away, mate, from C Wing to E Wing. You have to get across the centre to see the gate open, down the stairs, into the segregator. You think you can't, because you don't feel like you can breathe, Liam. Just doing that, right? So, but as soon as I came out of the room where the probation was, they do that, move to the right, and she comes running over because he's gone already, the first geezer. She comes up, she says, no. Mr. Baker says, hold it there. 1 minute. Pulls it. I look up, I'm standing on the wall, and I'm going like, I'm not going down there getting wrapped up. So I'm standing on the wall, I'm looking, and Mr. Baker's talking to her. She's like, and you're trying to mime, trying to say, please say the right thing. And he comes over, he says, let him go. I went, right. He said, listen to me, you're my hero. He goes, go upstairs to your cell. So I went up to the freezer, opened the door, I was banged up with Steve O'Connor, the nutsy black nuts from North London. He was probably one of my best cellmates. I didn't have many cellmates over the years because I ended up being single for most of the 𝐶𝐿 years. But I said, I got upstairs and then, because it was such a major incident, them days, Liam, you know that's going to be serious. They called me, right, the door unlocked, it was nearly enough lunchtime, right, because remember it's exercise in the morning. Unlocks me, said, go down. You got to go down, see the governor, the PO, Mr. Turner, angry, Mr. Turner, red face, rings the alarm to open up the door, things like that. 8 o'clock, 7:30 in the morning. The bell rings, unlock the bastards. That's what Wandsworth was like. No one ever tell you no different. So I've turned up now, I've just shuffled me into the office. I'm sitting there, standing there with my hands behind my back like that. Yes, Mr. Turner. He said, Yammy? I said, yes, sir. He goes, what you just did there was the most heroic act. He goes, I'll be writing to the Home Office and be requesting a reward for you or an award for you of some kind. I goes, yeah, but Mr. Turner, I don't want to get in no trouble. Don't get me involved in no. He goes, if anyone tells you anything in here, you'll be out of here so quick your feet won't touch. And you'll get a decent prison as well. I said, really? For the first time in life? He goes, right. Take him upstairs. Then Mr. Baker came about 2 hours later. He said, you're working on the hot plate downstairs. So when I came down, all the heavy mob, but there were some people that resented it, were calling me names. But the heavy mob, they was down and Mr. Baker said, listen, there's a free piece of chicken and fish for you. My hero, he's standing there. But all the bigger lot were saying, nah, Yammy done really well.
Did you get time taken off your sentence?
Yeah, I got a year. They came about a year later. They came in soups. It's called a royal warrant. Got 300 something days off my earliest date of release. My mum put it in the frame.
But you didn't stay out that long?
No, I got nicked after 5 weeks with a briefcase and a tie on down Sloane Street.
And you was up to the same old?
I was up to the same old, yeah. It took me 2 hours to take off a front door. Sorry, viewers.
How come you kept going back to crime?
Because when I was in there, I used to always dream about getting a lot of jewellery again. I just always think, what am I going to do when I get out? Can I go there? Am I going to go here? What about train? Remember, you never done that one before.
So you'd still romanticise about it?
Yeah.
In jail?
In jail. Well, I weren't thinking about going straight. I don't think it was an option. A judge once said when I was getting sentenced, when my barrister and everyone was pleading to give me a chance, he said it's all he knows.
How did you go from a 𝐶𝐨𝐧'𝐭 burglar to a Cat A enforcer? Because you was enforcing the law in jail, weren't you, for a stint?
Well, I was listening to taking orders from people and doing things, getting drugs and getting paid and running about and taking liberties. But really in the jungle, there's no rules, Liam.
Let's get into the nitty gritty of the time you spent in jail. I'd imagine the Cat A's was the most eye opening.
No, but I'd already had a glance during the 90s. Because they frightened me after the Queen's pardon when I changed, when I came back that time. I came back and I got another 3 straight after the Queen's pardon thing, 3 or 4. And then I started to rob people in jail and that's how I got the name Yammy. And then all along the years, everyone I started with in YPs, young prisoners and detention centre and who knows who and all around the country. You see people in the early days and I was sweet and innocent. You see other people that grow to be real high rocks, big name so-called gangsters, but I was with them as kids. And they weren't talking out the corner of their mouths, so no, sweet, mate, and all that. They weren't doing all that then. But nor was I. And then you kind of grow into institutions and then you wake up one year and you just got out. Yeah, you're going home tomorrow, yeah. Staying out? Yeah. Then you come back a few months later and they're there too, come back again. Fucking happy, happy days. Yeah, 10 years here, we'll all go again. But in the end, it's going to catch you. But I'd already had a taste of them because I was running about in the 90s causing problems. They put me in a couple of Cat-A's for short periods of times. But I didn't have long left to serve. Because I was with the RA, the Irish lot, quite early, before I went on the long stint of the Cat-A's for the robberies with the gun and all that, which weren't great robberies. They were they were worse in criminal fraternities than my burglaries, to be honest, in that life of, say, speaking about it. But, so from 94, Swellside, the guy continued with the robbing and anyone with a parcel kind of either con or physically overpower, take liberties kind of thing. I wanted to be like some of those, like Pat Tate and a couple of my mates and the robbers from Brixton and South London. New image in prison from how I used to be. So I just started doing that. And then I got stabbed once over someone else in Swellside. And then I was not allowed to, I was getting moved around all the B-cats. No one wanted me where I'd been before. I used to turn up in sweatboxes in the 90s on return after I run out of places. Right? This is before the 12th. So all those that was young offenders with me, I think, they're now doing life sentences for shootings and murders. So they're already in the Cat-A's. Whitemore, Long Lartin, Full Sutton and Franklin. Been away 5, 8, 10 already. So by the time I'm going through the 90s of the round and round, a tour of the B-cats, the B categories, and Swellside, Blunston, Mace, they're all Parkhurst, Albany, but I was touching all of them. Then I go out and I get the 12 for the robberies, and then I get bail marshal and I'm in the Cat-A's for 10 years straight.
So the 12, that was with a firearm?
Well, yeah, we'll pretend firearm. Sometimes a real one, but no bullets. So sometimes in a plastic bag, pretending to be it's a cucumber or whatever, but it looks like a gun. So, but either way, it's the thought and the frightening of people when you're jumping over. But it's not the gold bullion job or bank jobs or nothing, Liam. So I'm jumping over counters in the middle of the night at this stage of that career to feel a habit, drug habit, isn't it? So I'm only at 4 or 5 weeks at a time.
So when did the drug habit creep in?
91, 92.
And did it start in jail?
It started in jail.
And did someone introduce you to it?
Yeah.
White or brown?
I started smoking the B in 𝐟𝐸𝐺 but only it's to kill the emotions and pass the time because I didn't like puffing. So I thought it'd be a good idea because in that time there weren't no drug tests or nothing. And I thought, well, what am I going to do with all my time? I was already built from all the training and over the years from a young age. So I thought, why not run around, change my image, hiding from myself? I don't know, pretend to be something I'm not. For whatever reasons, it was drama and you're in the mix and time's going quicker. But really, you're losing the time, so it's going to go slower. But I wasn't really that sensible there, but I never really was.
How much were you using in there?
I don't know, I was just trying to get it as much as when I can.
Yeah, how frequently were you using?
Every day, I suppose, at one stage.
And how would people access brown in jail?
In them days, it was more visits. There weren't no drones. The odd bent screw then, but not like now where there's bent staff everywhere and you could get the drones flown over. You could. It was different. People go on home leaves and come back with it stuffed up their backside.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's going on home leave. Here, I'll go and put that. Go and collect something from me and you keep half of it. You know what I mean? People outside workers. Many ways in the old days that were a bit more easy. Not as easy. It's easy. Not as can't do it on visits as much as you used to now. This is why it's done in a different way. But there'd always be a way. No matter if they cut out, put cameras this bit and that bit. There's always another way to find a way through. So then I reached Belmarsh for all the robberies. I was in Belmarsh from 2000. And then I had 2000 for about 16 months. That I went on free ID parades. Everybody picked me out. Because I was jumping over the counters with my ponytail with nothing on my face. So we're the cleverest again, Liam.
But now the crimes you're committing, the robberies, be it armed or not, this is now fully to fund your habit.
Yeah, I was a lunatic. I was staying out 4 or 5 weeks, all mad crime sprees. And I end up at the Old Bailey in court free for the robberies. Plead guilty to 5 or 6. The Chief Justice, Miss Perlman, who was only a stand-in, come out of retirement to sentence me, rightly says that you just jumped over counters, people are alone, you're frightening them late at night. Really, Samson, you're supposed to know better. And you said during those robberies, you said to one man, have you ever been robbed before? And you were laughing when you said no, and you said, well, you have now. How shameful was that? So I was acting all flash during the robberies and kind of like watching too many films, I think, or listening to what I was listening to in there when you're learning how to do new crimes from robbers and things like that. But
did you view the people on the other side of the counter as human beings or just obstacles?
Well, a couple of times, not seeing the significance of my events, a couple of them broke down. I left the money. There was one lady that slapped me and I just walked off. I didn't do nothing. Because I was just being silly, or I was out my box, so I still knew how far not to go.
Did you get away with many robberies?
I got away with everything, but I left it all, like with everything else. I never got caught at no scene of crime. I always left everything behind so they could come and get me later on.
What do you mean?
Like evidence.
Right.
So never at the scene, anywhere. Ever. Apart from one. And that was a burglary.
And was there DNA they could pick up back then?
I don't know, they started to, when I got the DNA on the robberies at the Old Bailey, when I got the 12, I bought a bottle of Beck's at the bar, while I was in the Royal Hotel, thinking of robbing it. So I'm sitting there in the foyer, waiting for a moment where it's quiet, 11:30, 12, I'm just sitting there with something in my pocket. I'm thinking, ugh, it's taking long. I've got to get it. I might just go charging over there and dive over there. But then I thought, just be cool. Go to the bar and buy a bottle of Beck's. Beer. So I took a sip, did that, thinking I'm really casing up everything really well. Dived over the counter. Everybody went like that, froze. Grabbed the box, and by the time everybody went like that, I was out the door and into the car. So I didn't really have to use anything on that, but that's the way that I always planned to do things without waving things around. But there was a couple of times where I stood up on the counter and waved it around everywhere, I'm afraid.
Any of it caught on CCTV?
Yeah.
And did you get to watch that back in court?
Didn't like it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. How did it feel looking at yourself?
It was a muggy turnout, really. I was more thinking that I might as well, not now, but for this kind of robberies that you can get 12, 13 years for and serve it all. I was them lot, the big arm. I was saying, yeah, you would have been better off going down to Graf's Jewellers and walking straight in there. You would have got the same sentence.
What kind of things were you doing in jail that would enable you to score gear?
Collect people that owe dealers money. Be your best friend. And I'll do anything for you. Just give me 3 of them things. Every day, I'm pissed. Give me another 2 and I promise you when a job comes up, I'll do it for you. Couple of bits of violence over the years. Real couple extreme, but the rest not really that harmful, but use violence for by way you give me something and You know what I mean? Or threatening, playing the game. I don't know, Liam. I got everything for free, really, if you really look at the whole picture. I was grafting about. Like, sometimes I didn't have no visits. So someone said, yeah, listen, I got this and got that. Remember, there's people that want to stay in the background that use me as a front man who take gear or drugs or weed or phone cards then before the phones came in and tobacco and, yeah, I got 2 of these. Do you reckon he'll give you that? For that, can you approach him? Because I owe him already. He won't give me none because I've got to pay him canteen this week. I go, give it to me, I'll go there.
But these jail debts, they can only amount to so much. There can't be loads of money in jail, surely.
Well, there's some serious men that when someone's got a parcel of gear, brown or spice or weed or whatever, or phones, they spend money. They can get money delivered to you, 1,000, couple of grand or whatever. So you could be, I've seen some big money people get on the gear inside, and what the dealer would really buy for £300, £500, that person's paying $3,000.
Would these debts be getting paid outside of jail or inside? Would people say, well, you owe me $2,000, transfer it from that account to this account on the outside, or would they want cash on the inside?
No, in the old days, in the 90s, late 80s, 90s, the dealers in jail, because you rob up, you get the cash on the visits. Sometimes you wrap it up in clean foil and they got a big roll and then they hand it out on their visits, right? No mobile phones then, that's why. Now you just got to go on the phone, yeah, put 100 in there.
You said you didn't get any visits.
No, I was all alone for most of them, 37 years, 40 years. Yeah.
Why was that?
I went out long enough. I went out long enough to have any relationships with anyone.
Oh, I'm with you. Okay.
So I was gone, wasn't I? No.
How did that feel knowing that other people,
it makes you
were getting visits and you weren't?
Yeah, I used to look at people with kids, want to get out quicker, getting visits, want to see their missus, keep in touch with their family. I suppose I used to think, yeah, but they're weak, they're not getting involved in any because they're not hard enough. But really, they were smart because they wanted to get out quicker because they had things to look forward to. What made me probably worse and a kamikaze pilot and really not caring whether I lived or died is there was no one. So I didn't have nothing to worry about outside, did I? The consequences of staying in there for all those years really water for ducks back for me because I've been there since I was 10.
And who were some of the most memorable characters you met in jail? You mentioned Pat Tate.
Yeah, but I didn't know him that long, Liam. I only knew him for a few weeks at a time when I was younger. Briefly, I think in one of the locals. A few weeks somewhere else. No, I never knew him that well, but I remember talking to him and he liked me. He was on the Isle of Wight with me for a stage as well, briefly. But that was Pat Tate. He was probably the least person I spent a lot of time with. But I met everybody, didn't I? There was anybody that was ever had to have been met from that life, really, because I would have been going to jail from the 80s, where the older era, I would have bumped into the age group above me, and then I would have got my era, who were a little bit more advanced from me, depending on what side of London and town you're from, really. And then I matured in prison, and from being probably a sweet boy burglar, I suppose, the trauma of the childhood, just turned off key, basically, with drugs and not staying out and occupational hazard, thinking that, I didn't really want to live, not realising the effects that my behaviour was having on people on the outside. I always say to people that I don't regret the stabbing in the children's home, Liam. I don't regret my prison behaviour. I don't really, they've robbed everyone on the outside. They raped, they killed domestic women, children, everything. And then they'll run around and say, you're scum for robbing them in jail.
What's the most extreme thing you've done in jail?
I threw some hot stuff over someone once.
And what was that for?
Because I thought they was going to do me and with the same thing. And I got there first, but, many people say that someone paid me to do that. He was all right in the end anyway. But yeah, I got nicked. But I never got convicted.
And what were these beefs predominantly over?
Just
money.
People don't get on with people, and I don't pay him, and he don't pay him, and he's got the gear at the time, or he's got this bit, and he says, "Do that bit for me and get rid of him." And years and years ago, I probably would have done anything. But
were you linked to any murders in there?
No, I went to court for one, Liam. No one's ever asked me that. When I was younger, when I was in my 20s, I was allegedly in the shower with some of them. And man came in, there's another man in there, and the story goes that he was in the shower and he got stabbed in his leg, but died. But there was only 3, and then one person came in at the end. But I was really getting my clothes on Liam and getting out of there. But it did go to CPS, and I did go court because they were saying that he tried it on with me. I stabbed him. That's what they said, but it wasn't me. No.
And you got not guilty?
I never went on trial, but I went to court and they dropped it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Discontinued.
To put in your plea?
Yeah, discontinued.
Right, okay.
Discontinued. That's what happened.
And what about in jail? Did you come under attack yourself in there?
A couple of small lost fights, but not really some good victories physically with my hands. Well, it's not much to really boast about now. Don't really care about that side of things. My reasoning for ruining my whole life and many others along the way is, of course, making amends and passing on my experiences and trying to be a decent role model, because after all those years in institutions, I had no life skills or life experiences. So I've been out 5 years now without committing one crime. So,
how would you summarise jail itself?
I suppose I didn't care by getting nicked and going back there. I thought it would last forever. Everybody that I liked would be there all the time. It don't really go. I was living in cuckoo land. Yeah. So I was thinking, it's so monotonous. The dynamics in high security B-cats and people that are there for a long time. Same thing, door open. Worried about him, thinking about him. It's such a small environment that everyone, some are really paranoid, because when you got stuff going, when you're in the mix of drugs, the culture, beefs, you got all kind of gangs in there, not such the young ones, but all different creeds and colours before the youngsters came in. But jail, it's got steadily worse. I was with all the young kids and the postcodes on the last one. I was 40-something years old and I forgot. And I was joining all the kids with the postcodes.
Really?
Yeah, I was running back with them. I did more with them than I did in the adult when I was in the 𝐃𝐸's. Because it was the last sentence, because after serving the whole 12, I got an 8 straight after. And I served 7 years of that as well. So then it was only burglary that time. So I went back to the 𝐶CATs for the first time.
So no matter who you was in there with, you managed to...
And I was all alone with nothing.
But you managed to get on with everyone?
Well, yeah, you got to be brave, innit? But I probably would have got on better if I wasn't touching stuff and just using... a lot of people love me and I love them. Some great men I met along the way.
What about relationships in jail? I mean, so recently there's been that video leaked. In fact, the screw, she's now in jail.
Yeah, it's my nephew.
What, the lad that was sleeping with the woman?
Yeah.
So,
not my real nephew, but it is my boy. Yeah.
So does that go on more often than we think?
Now it's more than ever. I mean, I got kissed back in the day, but I didn't get nothing else. But it has gone on for centuries, but really undercover. And not that much, not like now, but human behaviour. Teachers, psychologists, nurses. The fantasy becomes reality.
Did you fall in love with your psychotherapist?
I would have fallen in love with any woman. Everyone I looked at, I fancied. But I never had no relationships with nothing. When you're in there, you don't be surrounded by sweaty old men, do you? You know what I mean? And then I come out thinking women were a different species, but now I'm realising different things as well now. It's been a fucking weird old journey, man.
But there was a time...
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Yeah.
The loved one.
You caught feelings for the psychotherapist?
There was, yeah.
Go on.
I had a kiss. We was kissing. That's it. Didn't do nothing else. But I said in the morning, it's gossip in there. Even the staff. It's not even bad officers that are bad, mate. There's good and bad in everything. Someone's got to do the job. I'm not going to really hate the police if I was committing crime. I'm not going to hate them because I knew that if I didn't commit crime and I wasn't guilty, I wouldn't have to see them. Most of the times, they could stitch people up and all that. But my arguments have been mostly with myself, Liam. You know what I mean? And the regrets of how long it took me to realise that I never had to live that life. So I pick up the pieces now. And I've delivered and I've produced the goods and I keep getting better every year. And now I'm in the best form of my life.
So when you left jail for the last time, that was around
220.
So we're only talking the last 5 years.
Yeah.
In your mind, why was the last time the last time?
During that time, I'm on Channel 5 next week or two where I was in Wandsworth. So I did 4 years out of the last 8 years sentence with the kids in High Point, CCAT, adult jail, South, East, North, West London. I was the weapons man. They used to say, Yammy, can you get this? You can't really preach the Holy Bible to these youngsters in prison. Got too much postcode wars going. Every time someone turns up, there's about 1 million of them rushing over there to do one person in. They've lost complete control in there, the staff and the system. So I did 4 years out of that, got released. Came out straight into a mapper hostel once again on conditions, right? So I've ended up in Cricklewood. I forgot the name of it. So I'm in there for 2 months. Don't get out of the hostel yet again, right? So I don't actually get to have a weekend out of restrictions and sleeping somewhere else. As usual, I'm under strict conditions, but I'm looking around, you've got murderers, serial killers and people, robbers shooting people, and their conditions are less than mine. They always did that to me, Liam. Because of my prison behaviour. I'm in there 2 months. They said that there's a burglary committed, and it was me. While I was in the hostel, my last ever crime that I ever committed. And they said that I got a Richie Millie watch, valued at £1 million, right? But I left a bit of blood or something climbing through the window, yeah? So I'm already serving 8 years for burglary. Burglary, right? So I'm on 4 years licence. The only sentence I've ever done where you do half. Because I served nearly all my sentences, and in the old days it was 2/3 and what you lose. So it's the actual first time I've got a halfway sentence. So I'm 2 months in the hostel. They come for me, I get nicked. They bring me, I go to court, which is why you'll be remanded into custody. You're already serving 8 years for burglary. You'll be recalled to do that licence and you'll face discharge here, right? So I go to Wandsworth. I go up to Crown Court for the Richie Millie, right? They said, where is it? I don't know what you're on about. Never got it. But really, I got it, but it wasn't real. As far as I knew. The judge said, well, you're serving 8 years for burglary, and anything I give you under 8, I can't make it consecutive. I can only make it concurrent. It's the way the law is. So he gave me 3 years for that Richie Millie one, so-called £1 million watch, to run concurrent. So I'm still doing the same 8, because the 8 years was excessive for burglary that I was serving already, which was kind of top tier maximum for no violence or nothing. Nobody in, nothing, no disturbances. Big sentence for that kind of stuff, but they've always done that to me. So then, and I did it to myself. But Liam, so I'm in Wandsworth, trying to think about the recall and get back out, and I've got a missus at this time, my first ever relationship. I end up fighting with staff. Start taking drugs again. End up swinging at the governor and the PO in front of everyone. And they jumped on me and wrapped me up, right? Left me from one wing to move me on to D wing. I said, right, so I know I ain't going to get no recall now. I'm no parole hearing. So I've already made up my mind. So someone gives me something to smoke. And I said, let me get my head down, sleep. Give me something to smoke. Think it was spice and the wrist. I couldn't really roll joints. I've never really been a roller. I didn't know how to do it, or I couldn't. I always made a mess of it. I took 2 pulls late at night to try and get my head down, thinking sleep under pressure. I know when we get, I'll probably be serving the whole 8 years now is what I'm thinking. Took 2 pulls, stood up, and dived head first, thinking I could fly. And off the top bunk bed. And the whole floor was covered in blood. My cellmate below said, "Uncle Yammy, you're dead." I was paralysed straight away. As you see the scars earlier, I showed you. Cervical 3, 4, 5. Spinal, same as Superman, Christopher Reeve's condition. So I'm all blood. I'm trying to rock, but it's going into shock. I'm doing this on the wall. He goes, "I have to press the bell, Yammy, Uncle Yammy." The whole red blood all over the floor. Liam comes to the door, takes an hour to open the door. Hated me in there, they did. Then they took, put me on a stretcher of some kind, can't remember. Got to the gate, ambulance. You know the gate locked. Took an hour to get outside the front gate as well. And I remember an ambulance lady saying, "Slide him," saying, "Boy, vaguely here." She said, "It's my first night on duty, he's not going to make it." And then I woke up in St. George's Hospital. There's all screws around me. And my missus crying. And can't move. They goes, "No, just to break the news to you, like, you won't be able to walk or use your hands ever again." I was just lying there. I said, "Yeah." Still mouthy. One of them screws was there, the horrible ones. They was glad I could see their face. I was thinking, They went back to the prison, telling everyone, "Yeah, bad man, yeah. Look at him now. Finished." So for 5 months, nothing really much. After 2 months, 2 weeks, feeding myself like that, while no cuffs on or nothing, under watch, obviously. To eat, trying to get that hand, and then one night I was going like that, pushing it up that way while I was laying down at night. I was thinking, "Yeah, but you can't do that." The nurses, they all liked me. The screws had the ump there. So when they used to have to hoist me out of bed, they said, "Yeah, you've got to go outside now," and all that. I said, Miss, let me try one step." "But yeah, Samson, you won't be able to. You can't do it." I said, "Let me try, miss." So I take one step, but can't use my hands. I fall on the bed. 1, 2, boom. Fall on the bed. Then I started to get the hands. I was practicing at night, and started to change. Then when I was going physio one day, after about 2, 3 months, you could see that I was walking, but I started shadow boxing because there was horrible screws there on duty, right? So I'm walking. I know he hated me. I know they can't fight back with me now because I got the injuries and they were in hospital. So I would have fought back with them anyway back then with the way I used to speak. But I started walking down the corridor with the cuffs on. No, walking down the corridor to physio going like this, Liam. But my shoulder couldn't go all the way up. But I was pretending that I could. They goes, "You phone the governor, they put the cuffs on." My missus goes, "Why did you have to start showing off?" I had the handcuffs on, and then I went Stanmore for rehabilitation. So all in all, I was in hospital 5, 6 months. And then they were going, "It's a miracle, it's a miracle." When I came back, they said, "Yeah, but they told us she was dead. They said that you wouldn't walk." I said, "But I was standing." But the injuries are still there. It just looked good.
And how long after that did you get the final release?
10 months. I finished off there. Murders with them right to the gate. My final day in prison in Wandsworth was all of them surrounding me on the centre because they're supposed to have let me out 5 days before. I said, "I ain't banging up. You conned me. Made me do added time." "Uncle Yammy, please." I said, "Listen, if you want to have the final stand, we'll have it for the final go." And all that. And then the circle goes, "Yammy. I know they can't jump on me because there's a claim for the injuries. But there's no claim now. I take full responsibility for the self-inflicted accident. I go with God on this one. After all, when I couldn't move, I asked him, I said, "What you do? Really, is this how it ends for me, God?" He started laughing. I said, "Nah." He goes, "You got out of everything else." That's it, Lee.
Is there any part of jail that you miss?
No. I couldn't do another days. The only way I can go back to prison, Liam, is if someone puts their hand on me or someone touches someone close to me, depending on how I react. And I love them. It depends. Those are the only things that could bring me back to jail because I just don't think with a criminal mind and I haven't done. I promised God that I would never harm anyone ever again, and I haven't.
Do you regret all the things you've done?
Not in jail. I regret the burglaries and robberies against people that didn't do nothing to me.
The behaviour that got you in jail.
Yeah, I regret obviously I'm teetotal for the first time. I got off alcohol. That was the last hurdle as far as I'm concerned. We'll do part 2 one day, Liam, and I'll be telling you the same thing. I've got it this time. So, Liam, the burglars and robberies I regret. I never didn't see the effects of, people going back to their house, people being scared by my behaviour. They never done nothing to me. No regrets for the first offence ever in the children's home, and no regrets for my prison behaviour, but regrets for my crimes.
Have you got like a picture of yourself and your life in your head, how things could have been if you hadn't have been in and out of jail? Because there is still time for that.
No, I'm doing it now.
Vision.
Yeah. But I'm doing it now. It's like I've been helped along by God probably, but all of the big, you say you don't need to do this. You could have done so many different things, Yammy. Just throwing it away.
Because you've got a good working mind.
Because the trauma, I thought, self-value, self-worth. I don't know. You thought that you blamed everything on yourself, but hold on. Some of the things I blame myself for weren't even my fault now, I realise in later life. I feel like sometimes they would, but I suppose one of my biggest, I'll give myself credit, is moving on, accepting responsibility for your part in things, and still having a go. And the only way that you can measure success is spending your whole life in there as a criminal, doing bad things, and coming out after 5 years. I never committed a crime or harmed anybody ever again. And I'm on mainstream TV, and I'm doing motivation, and I'm clean, and I still love everybody, and I'm still getting to, it's taken long. You can't do that much time. I didn't have no life experiences, Liam. Didn't know about relationships, places, get carried away. You thought what you missed in jail. You're going here, the ladies, she's saying this, oh, that means it's true. She loves you. Yeah, really? And then you work it all out and you go, I know now. You just know you wasn't really missing that much apart from the real struggles on the outside is going to work, earn a living, looking after your family, and living days a day.
Let's just take a little bit of time to talk about your journey since you've been a free man, since you've gone straight. Because I'd imagine a lot of people will overlook that, because I'd imagine you've had your own battles since you've come out, because it's a whole different world. So talk to me about the last 5 years. In your own words, from start to finish, the battles, the new relationships, finding your feet, navigating your way through this. Because it's just probably just as mad out here than it is in there, isn't it?
But yeah, Liam, so I got released after having that last bit in Wandsworth. Mum died not long after getting out through COVID, and she got put in hospital for dementia, but I had a little bit of time with her. I was thankful for that. Relationship, didn't know how to conduct myself properly in the relationship. I was isolated and didn't really know how to participate because I didn't know how to have a relationship. When I look back now, I realise that, and then touching drugs on and off, social media, YouTube, and not the other apps. I've only just started to do other apps, and then bits of mainstream, Channel 5, BBC, not consistent enough. Then the license finishes. Lady throws me out, basically, in a way, and I deserved it, right? I'm homeless. So I'm going around the country for about 16 months. Everyone's going, come here, Yammy, come here. Go to Leeds, Birmingham, Manchester, Liverpool. You come down, Devon, everywhere. Yo, come and stay with me. I'll look after you and all that. So I was going here, going there. A lot of people helped me in that. I had a lot of luck. I had the angels in right places, but then the danger of shacking up with, and you're not in a relationship, but you get someone else's place, they can get the hump and then you got to go. But then, nah, I got looked after. And then ended up in a kind of relationship, but she's a good girl, lady, down in East London. A couple. They were taking care when I wasn't there, put me up in hotels. And then one time, one of my kind of big sisters, really. Sally, good lady, good girl. And it was so thing. She says, Yammy, listen, Samson, I've got a place. You can go. And I was running out of place. I didn't want to live with no one. And then I was out, but the relationships and the addictions and not being a criminal was easy, not being a criminal. Because I didn't want to harm that. I don't really feel to do it and to harm anyone ever again. So take it as I want. I never harmed no one ever again. I'd kept to that bit, but the life experiences and the behaviours were similar at times to the past. Like with not being able to handle substances and drinking too much and going out and people thinking, there's Yammy, come here. But I weren't looking at it the way they was looking. They was thinking that because I'm on TV and all that, I said, listen, mate, I don't even realise. I don't even think, I don't, there's no celebrity business from being an ex-offender. I'm just going along with the journey. But the truth is, there's been some dark, dark times with drinking and thing. And I said, everybody has to come and get me and save me. And it comes real despair and losing people outside. I've never had to deal with close people to me dying while I'm out. So, because in there, when people die, you didn't have much bonding and you're not in touch with anyone. Oh, they died. Oh, yeah, I went to school with them. And you're not close to the action. But I didn't really like losing people close to me. Got to be honest, very horrible thing. My heart goes out with anyone. And everybody has to go through it. But
what are your biggest day-to-day struggles in the outside world?
Don't know. When I came out, whenever I went out, I was still using A-class things a little bit. And then I decided I pissed that off. Then I was all right just having a little drink here and there. And then it spiraled the last year or so until now, the last couple of months. And then I would have a sniff or something, but it was affecting me in my mindset. And I was doing it the same way that I used to do the A-class. I wouldn't eat, I wouldn't do. And you just can't, and I couldn't do my work. Couldn't do my TV work. I couldn't do my social media. I couldn't perform properly and deliver properly with what I know I've got stored and what's coming and what's happening right now.
What are the things you like the most about being outside? Little things you probably haven't even thought of before, because people like the doom and gloom. Tell me the things you love about the outside world.
I love walking to all the shops, the cafes, the local Tesco's, the newsagents, the off-licence. I like walking down the road, seeing all the mums, grandmas and everything, and just saying that I love you. Are you all right? On form, cracking jokes. When I'm down, they put their heads down. When I was drinking and all that, when I'm a mess, and you got to see, but they're not judgmental. And there's a lot of good people out here. And there's a lot of people that have helped me, to be honest. And it wasn't a world where I grew up in a world where you got recognition for being bad and rating and respecting people that did everything the wrong way. But now I don't go and meet anyone that's doing anything wrong, Liam. Unless it was the demons and I was buying something or whatever.
So you keep good company?
Yeah, I know everybody, but I won't go and meet anyone that's involved. So I've got great support network. The only thing is, when I was suffering, I did what I always did in jail. I suffered on my own because you're used to doing it alone. And everyone goes, call me, let me know. I'll come and get you. Yammy. Yeah. Soon come. I'll beat this bit too. It's that last bit, and that'll be the last bit, Liam. I'm not doing no self-inflicted thing. I've got too much to give. And I know that I like being old soft Uncle Yammy. I prefer that. And just be smooth and just be cool. I'm not going to get into anything that's going to change, because when you drink, your behaviour can change. You don't have to be a criminal. You know, you could be, it engenders chaotic behaviour. Drugs used to do it to me, and drink will do it. Not all the time, but certain people can manage, but I couldn't.
My final question then today. Rattle off some things that you have got going on in your life or you want to happen in your life that is going to keep you sober.
The experts were ringing me. I said, no, I'll beat it. I'll push it all out of the way. I did it when I was paralysed. I've done that bit, and I've done the Sahara Desert, and I've done Afghanistan. I've done everywhere, all on my own, and I came out and I won. And I beat the alcohol now as well. They said, yeah, but it's one day at a time, Yammy. They goes, what you do, you've had the pink cloud, and now you're feeling impregnable and unbreachable. All the muscles are back, and you're giving it all that. I said, listen, let me tell you something. Started going for a run. First bit, routine. How did you do it in the past on drugs in there? How did you come off without no help or anything? You went back to basics. You eat your food. You go to bed early. You come charging out the door to go for a quick run. Do your stretching. Organise your work, your interviews from all walks of life. Your Channel 5s, the documentaries, the psychological breakdowns, the motivational stuff on the other apps, the love, loss, rejection. Take the whole emphasis of what you really think about yourself that's enhanced. But I mean, when you take things, is to give back, make amends, pass on your experiences, and become the role model that God kept you alive for. Go to bed early. You lie down for years in there. You're not missing nothing by being legless and walking, running, you know what I mean, coming out and falling this way and that way and talking that and garbage and or having a good time. So you think, I went out twice in the last couple of weeks. I was drinking coffee and dancing. In fact, it was better for me. I was still hugging everyone and giving them a kiss and walking. But the only thing now, they said I'm not talking so much. I'm just going like that. I love your heart. Just keep it moving. That's it. When before it was all chaos and behaviour can lead to many things. I won't be making that mistake because it can go wrong. It don't mean because it hasn't. You're not committing crime, but many people have fallen foul to not knowing what they're doing.
So you're actually a lot happier sober.
Yeah, my problem is I was always happy sober. Even in jail, they say, you're sober. Why can't you stay like this, Yammy? Well, I am now.
And where can people find you?
yammybtv on YouTube, Channel 5, Monster Mansions, World's Most Deadliest Killers, and BBC Sounds, TikTok. I think I'm joining all the apps now. They haven't even done that yet. Yeah. But I'm doing more of my motivational stuff on TikTok. I just started to get round now with the it's different stuff rather because I was doing stories and who won this, who was the hardest, who was the baddest. But really it sounds a bit silly now, to be honest. But now I'm doing my interviews, all walks of life. If you've got a story, it doesn't have to be true crime. I find I engage better with the sufferers, where my heart will always remain now until the bitter end. I mean, for everyone. But what I'm saying is you don't have to be to prison and true crime, involved in true crime, to ask to do a podcast on my show.
And one final thought and message from you to anybody watching that's either struggling or they're in the grips of addiction or they're living a life of crime and they don't really know which way to turn. What would your final message be from Uncle Yammy?
If you're doing crime, you do it habitually in the end because it's only one way of doing things. So the rewards are that you will continue and you'll get away for a little small time, but you will go to prison. What did they say about a drink? One's too many or something like that. What was it, Liam, what they said? One's enough.
One's not enough.
One's too many. Because you get addicted to doing things in that way and it's easy come, easy go. But you will get nicked and the longer it goes on for, you're going to end up, not like me, but get out of it early because in the end, you're going to have to get out of it anyway. So you better make plans to be somebody different and a different way of doing things on the outside, which would be being law-abiding. Those going through addiction, never give up. 3 times last year, I nearly got off the alcohol. And when I thought, because of the spirits and the whiskies, and, it got deep in despair, Lady Macbeth, Temple of Doom, every time I come back from a few days break, I thought, we'll just have a couple of beers now. You can manage that. It's not the same as spirits. And then, you keep knocking at the door. If you want to, you will. And in the end, if it's causing havoc in your life and it becomes unmanageable and you can't be, and you know that it makes you different, all right? I know that. You know that. People will judge. They'll even underestimate. But still in your own hands. Never say never. And don't give up the fight.
Here's to sobriety and you staying out of jail.
All right, safe, Liam.
Cheers, Yammy.
All right, mate. Sweet as an up, boy. Safe, Simon.